I'm not hoping to be still standing at the front of the room 2 years from now, but I'm hoping the people that are joining and getting involved now are going to be willing to take on the next half a century. And we've got very good younger people who are now taking good leadership roles within the organization. And by younger, I mean anyone under 60. Okay. What has happened here in the past 50 years, though, is small change when compared to what's going to happen in the next 15. More people are expected to live in the new buildings than live here today. A moderately sized village is planned for the no-frill site. Tall buildings are expected between Weston Road and the rail corridor from Ray Avenue to Black Creek Drive, and redevelopment in the single-family home sections is expected. The need for an active community association will only increase. Some of you may remember the success we had negotiating for proper input to the crosstown. I'm not sure how many of you were here 15 years ago. I know a few of you were, but most of you, or many at least, weren't. Our efforts, and by our, I don't mean MDCA, I mean the community, and our neighbors to the north in Weston, to the east in Green Hills, and Rockcliffe Smythe, we joined together. Our politicians were very, very supportive. We had input at Queen's Park, we had input at City Hall, the Conservation Authority supported us, and we basically dragged our heels, slowed down the environmental assessment, and were able to negotiate with Metrolinx. There was initially a very, very bad TTC design that was going to expropriate buildings on both sides of Eglinton at Weston Road, dig a trench down the middle of the road, so the rails were going to be 30 or 40 feet down. I put it in meters if you prefer. But I think back then it was still feet. But it was going to really destroy the corridor. Instead, we got a much smaller maintenance yard, a much nicer station. We saved Building 9, which is a historic structure and has a gymnatorium and can be a performance space for the community. We saved the Scotiabank building. We stopped the building of a gas-fired generating station on Ray Avenue. We got an energy storage system introduced, which was going to be, at the time, the largest in Ontario. It hasn't opened because of Crosstown, so it will never actually be the largest, because we don't expect Crosstown ever to open, do we? But it was nice that we got the win. And we built support for community benefits, which then was taken up by the City of Toronto, where, by the way, I'm on one of the consulting boards for community benefits in Toronto. But we got community benefits. Our MP took it to Ottawa. Our MPP took it to Queen's Park. And we got support for the eco-neighbourhood. And the eco-neighbourhood is reflected in many ways. Rick will talk more about it, but just across the road here, Net Zero Daycare Center, one of the largest in Toronto and the first net zero daycare. We have a planning study for Mount Dennis that recognizes it as the desire for an eco-neighbourhood. And we have George Brown planning a campus here, and again saying it needs to be a connected eco-campus. Okay, Francis, your time is impeccable. Just totally impeccable. You missed all the boring stuff, and you got right in the paragraph.
I just came from council, so.
Right at the paragraph, it's right here by my thumb if, for those who are skeptical. Today, the city and the province recognized Councillor Nunziata for 35 years of public service. That's pretty amazing. We congratulate you.
Yeah. There was a big presentation at council today from the province.
Yeah, we heard about that.
Yeah.
The carrier pigeon brought us the message. Anyway,
Just don't feed it.
Thank you. I will say this honestly, MDCA doesn't always agree with the politicians, but we seem somehow to be able to get what's best for the community eventually. And Frances has been here a long time, and she's done a tremendous number of good things. And I was appreciative when Super Coffee's mural was introduced, that there's a reference specifically to the eco-neighborhood and to the community association. So for those of you who are considering joining or planning to join us, this is the kind of thing that we can get together when we all pull the same way. MDCA finances. We have some financial reports here. We survived COVID. Since COVID started 3 years ago, we have lost a few $100s of our equity, but we have basically kept our head above water, choked a bit, swallowed a bit, splashed a lot, but managed to raise about as much money as we spent over the last 3 years. We had to scale down our activities. We weren't able to afford to send newsletters 3 times a year to every house, mainly because our advertisers were suffering. And they knew that advertising wasn't going to make the difference. You know, it just wasn't people on the street. So people not on the street with an ad doesn't sell any more than people not on the street. We'll talk more about that in a little while. The board's getting younger. If we get proper connection going, no? Okay, we're going to record the meeting and post it after. Yeah, sorry. So you can take it home and show your kids.
We're going on YouTube later.
Okay. Rick, however, is going to talk about the eco-neighborhood and the various things. Neil in Brissenden is active. He has now become an official with the Mount Dennis BIA and will be representing the BIA at the Community Association. Neiland is also one of the founding members and leaders of Stop the Trains in Our Parks and is working very hard to get Mount Dennis recognized and to get the protection for the community with Metrolinx. So, are there any questions from the crowd? No hoots and hollers. Too easy. Francis, are you in a hurry, or did you wish to stay for the presentation? Because we could jump ahead to the nominations if you wished, or it'll be about a half-hour presentation.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. In that case, where's Rick? We're going to, oh, you know what? I'm just going to quickly go over the finances. It'll take about 30 seconds. These will be available in a few moments. We finished 2018 with a net worth of $7,615. And at the end of 2022, and these are numbers verified by Can-Am Accountants, just around the corner of Jane Street, we now have a net worth of $7,022. So a net loss of $600 over 4 years, including COVID. Our income in 2022 was terrible. We had a net income of about $1,200. And somehow we managed to spend about $8,000, in part because we had some income in 2021 that we spent in 2022. So we had good income in 1 year and spent the money the following. But basically, we still got $7,000, which is more than enough for what we planned this year. And we also have some commitments for grants this year that will take care of Party by the Pond and some other activities. So our finances are better than one might expect after 3 years of complete destruction. So that's the end of the finances. We'll be posting this on our website because we tell the world what we've got, how much or how little money we're raising. Obviously, we can't continue to go on if we're spending, $7,000 more than we're taking in. But we don't really have to worry about that. Last year was a bit exceptional in that the funding came in a previous fiscal period. So I'm going to hand it over to Rick now. He will talk a little bit about the eco-neighborhood and the challenges that we're looking at. Rick.
Thanks, Mike. My name is Rick Ciccarelli. I am an associate board member. Been on the board as an associate for a long time. Was also a resident board member before that, so kind of dating myself here. I'd like to introduce Laura Power. Laura is the York Southwestern Climate Action Champion and will be helping me out an impromptu request across the room. This is kind of how we work. We throw things together. It tends to be last minute, but it can be exciting or could be comedy. So I'm just going to use the opportunity. You've had almost a year,
Yeah, just
and there's been a number of initiatives that you've organized. Do you want to go over those just very
goodness.
quickly?
This was very impromptu with
Yeah.
no planning, so thank you,
No.
Rick, for that. Appreciate that. I guess it all kind of happened very organically after meeting Judith at Super Coffee one fine afternoon. And then I think she sent me.
With me. Her 2-year-old son was flirting.
Yeah, he was flirting.
Across the
He
courtyard.
is a flirt. He loves the ladies, that guy. So yeah, actually I think Judith has sent me the councilor's newsletter, which is how I applied to be the neighborhood climate action champion, and then it kind of all went from there. Most of my endeavors are climate related, so kind of climate events like nature walks. Chalk My Walk was our first annual event last year, so we're doing a second one. Actually, I just met with Laura Alderson with the BIA. We definitely partner on that one, and she told me she hired a couple of people, so I guess Neiland is one of those people. So yeah, just kind of that stuff. Our biggest project right now is a bike drive. We've already collected 50 bicycles, and we're in the midst of organizing 5 events in each area of YSW, working with Dave with that too, to do the giveaways of the bikes. That's it.
Thank you.
Is that
So I'm going to really shorten my stuff so that we can get on with this, but don't go away. Montana's eco-Neighbourhood initiative is a grassroots community partnership connector. So we organize. We're community organizers, essentially. And it's on climate issues. The co-leads are the president and the vice president, or I should do that in reverse order. The vice president, Judith, and the president, Mike, of the organization. So given that we're organizing and we're action focused, we tend to be a little bit discretionary and try to take latitude as much as we can and take our signals off of them if we're going to get our wrist slapped. And then apologize to the board at the next meeting. So far, it's worked relatively well. But just so that people understand, that's why we're out there. We're kind of out front on a lot of issues, kind of exploring different ways, and then trying to bring it in for learning and decisions when key decisions are needed. The model for eco-neighborhoods came into the community from a process that was set up by the Green Building Council, an advisor by the name of Wayne Olson. Back in 2014, he formed something looking at Toronto as an eco-neighbor. Like, where can we get a district model for eco-development that had been used around the airport, but it was being used all over, and how could we get it down to neighborhood scale? Short story is they chose Mount Dennis as a place that they could do it. We plugged him into the AGM, Mount Dennis AGM at that point, and we got designated by them as an eco-neighborhood. We also got designated by the city as a place where climate action was happening, and particularly community energy. In 2017, we started to build relations with the Indigenous community. Elder Vivian Recollet, who was hoping to be here, but said that she was coming from another working engagement, so she may be held up or she may just not be able to attend. Vivian was part of a circle that several of us in the room were part of at the library, and other Indigenous people talking about what is the model. And we were on a track to have the Minister from Climate Change, provincial, at the AGM. We changed the model. Basically, it became an action learning model with values in the center. And those values being, take a look at the Indigenous knowledge, take a look at colonialism and cultural knowledge that's in this community. Start there when you take a look at climate action issues. It could be transit, it could be buildings, it could be food, it could be garbage, it could be whatever. But explore what the issue is, then bring it in and go through the process. So that's essentially our new community energy model. It isn't a battery. It isn't a power plant. It's the symbol of, the Indigenous symbol of how fires get going, how it keeps the community, how you have to work to make sure that it supports the community, it doesn't get out of hand. With that said, we've done a number of things since the last AGM. I don't know if it's appropriate to say we looked at 3 levels of government climate action plans, looked at West Park Hospital with TCBN's help, was able to get a promise from Ellis Dawn, the developer, to work, if the time is right, or on a future summit on construction garbage management and recycling as you're building stuff. We work with social development in the neighborhood improvement area network. Michael Caldera, who was on the board, coordinated and facilitated the working group on economy and employment. And we had a couple of members on that as well. And from there, we led a review through of a concept plan for an eco-neighborhood. It was a discussion paper. A concept plan for an eco-campus. It was a concept paper. We engaged different partners around that table in holding their own community consultations. Francis was at the Mount Dennis Community Association one and at the Community Benefits Network. Most recently, we've been working with STOP and working on the transit issues, trying to get Metrolinx to the table. And from our partnership through Doug Anderson for years, we've known Doug. Metrolinx has been in this neighborhood for years. For the last 2 years, we've been intensively trying to introduce that relationship to Metrolinx and not being successful at it. The results are what you see. We now have 3 TPs up. There may be more. We have a declaration by ENAGB, which is the Urban Indigenous Youth Organization, which has been set up in the City of Toronto, but has a larger mandate than just the city, to work with youth from 12 to 28, 29 on wellness issues and on cultural knowledge, building their understandings. They are now committed to working with STOP, to working with us, to working to be the guardians along that stretch that Metrolinx has talked about taking out a forest along Neiland. And what we need to do is work with them around, can we find a collaborative approach to build transit? Because everybody wants to see transit built. It's a question of how do we do that in a way that respects the land. So with that in mind, what our recommendation today from eco-Neighbourhood is that there be a chair at the board much like there are partnership chairs for urban arts or whatever, that there be a chair there for ENHED, the youth organization, and Ashkenachik. And then, I'm sorry, my eyes are blurring and I'm not very good at second languages because I have problems with my first one. Then Kamek, which is a place for healing our youth. Abish Ga Benjabe, which is where did we come from? So it's a translation acronym of those two phrases is what ENHEB stands for. And I'm recommending to the general meeting that we set a chair at the board for ENHEB. Thank you. We're going to do this in just a minute, and I'll go through it.
Thank you, Rick.
No, I have nothing.
I'm sorry, I don't have a smart thing to say here. Mainly because my brain is on two other things. Neiland has joined us on behalf of the EIA and the stop. I'd like to give him the opportunity to say a few words.
Sure. I might try and just do it without the mic, is that okay?
No.
No. Oh, you need the mic? Okay.
Volume.
Sorry, hi, I'm Neiland Brissenden. I'm a resident of Somerville Avenue, just over here down the street. I moved into the neighborhood about 7 years ago. Part of the reason why we moved into the neighborhood was because of the transit expansion and because of the parks. I have recently, just 2 days ago, started working with the Mount Dennis Business Improvement Area. I'm going to be working on communications and marketing with them, helping the businesses access resources, promoting them, and just generally trying to improve the neighborhood as a BIA does. Just real quick, there's 2 items that they wanted to share with the community. Number 1, there's a date for Chalk the Walk, which is June 10th with Laura Power. The BIA is really excited about it and was really happy with the way the event went last year. As I said, I just started 2 days ago, so if there's a lot of questions, I can definitely take them back to the other members of the BIA, to the board, and get back to the Residents Association. The other item that they wanted me to share on behalf of the BIA is they're going to be a part of the Contact Photography Film Festival. The outside of the library is going to be engaged or activated with enormous photography display, including the billboard above it, including the windows. What I was hoping to, they sent me some PowerPoint slides, and I'll put them up on my computer after the meeting if anybody wants to take a look at what it's going to look like, but it's going to start on May 1st. The Contact Festival runs until May 31st, but the BIA would like to keep it running through the summer and spring, and may keep it all the way until November of this year. So it's a really exciting kind of art activation, and I'm happy to share the images with everybody after the meeting. Mike also asked me to speak to STOP. I act as a spokesperson for Stop the Trains in our parks. I think most of you know the TPs and through Rick and his work. I just wanted to clarify a couple of quick things. Our group is most definitely not against transit. We definitely want the Crosstown West extension. We want it built, and we want it built as quickly as everybody else. We just want it done properly, and we want it done in a way that preserves our parks as much as possible, and that's what we're fighting for. Our Indigenous allies aren't convinced that underground is the best way to go. They're worried about the underground water aquifers, and so what they've requested and what we've agreed with and what the MDE&I and the MDCA has agreed with, is that our request to Metrolinx right now is to take a pause on that 1 kilometer stretch and allow for an Indigenous-led environmental assessment. So that's our ask from Metrolinx right now. We don't want to stop the project. We want them to go ahead. We want them to continue with the other 80-90% of the project, which is currently under construction. We want them to open up Mount Dennis Station and get the GO and UP trains running. And that's our goal right now. So we're not against transit expansion, and we're not against development in the neighborhood. In fact, we're for all of those things. But we believe that as local residents, we have a responsibility to make sure that these projects are all done right. And as Mike said, we're going to have a village being built on the No Frills site. Our population is going to intensify. We're going to need the transit, but we're also going to need our parks. We're going to need all of the resources and infrastructure that comes with that influx of population. And so for us, this is the first kind of large project that we want to keep an eye on and make sure it fits within our community and preserves the great assets that we have, like our parks. If anybody has any questions for the BIA, I'd happily take it back to the board. And as I said, I'll put the slides up after the meeting, and anyone who would like to take a look at them about the contact exhibit outside the library. Thanks, Mike, for.
I do have a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So any insights on some of the businesses that are coming up, or because there's been a lot of turnover due to COVID?
I don't have any insights as to that, but I can definitely. I have another meeting with the BIA tomorrow, and I'll ask Laura, who's the general manager, if she has any insights, and I can get back to the board on that. But unfortunately, I don't have any insights at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you remind us what the area is that the BIA covers?
So the BIA covers from Lambton to just north of here.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much, Neiland. We're about to start the elections, but I realized I skipped over something before. Some of you may have noticed this when you came in. Lynn Chung died this week, and she was a long-time member of MDCA and very active. We saw her just a few weeks ago, and suddenly she's not there anymore. So it's a sad day for MDCA. We've lost one of our best supporters ever, and we will go on, but it's a sad state.
The memorial is on Friday.
On Friday, yes,
3 till
next
6.
door at Scott's, next door 2 doors. On Friday from 3 till 5. So
6.
you'll see
3
some
to
of
6.
us.
3 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah, some of us will be there on Friday. Now I'd like to.
Is that when the funeral is, or is that just the viewing?
I'm sorry.
It's just the viewing. The funeral is going to be private.
Now I hand this over to Francis.
Yeah, when did she pass away? I didn't know she passed away.
A week ago Saturday.
The notice came out the first little
But
week.
was she sick? I didn't know she was
Very sudden, extremely sudden.
This is shocking. Yeah, I didn't know.
We're recording, so we need the
Oh,
volume.
okay, sorry, yeah. So I'm also on the BIA, I'm the treasurer of the BIA. Yes, as far as the businesses and that, the BIA is working to fill in some of these vacancies that we have on Western Road. We're hoping with the new development that comes in, there will be new businesses that want to open up, incentive. And the city is giving some incentives as well to businesses, on their taxes and that, because the COVID has really hit a lot of businesses. A lot of them have closed up, and so we're trying to get them going. And the BIA is very active in that, and they're trying to get new businesses to come in the area. But hopefully with the new development and that, then the businesses, if they know that the business is here and there are people, then they would come and invest, right? Because it's very difficult if they come and open up a business and then, they go bankrupt, right? And that's what's happening.
Has the rezoning, that section?
The Mount Dennis study?
Yeah.
The Mount Dennis study has been appealed. Yeah.
Appealed or approved?
Appealed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so at this time, we go through the elections. And so we do have a slate here that I'll mention the names. So the officials must have served at least one term as a member at large. So the slate that we have before us is for president, we have Mike Matos. Vice President, we have Judith Hayes. Secretary, Simon Chamberlain. And Simon is great at taking minutes. Treasurer, Adam Marinelli. Adam, are you here?
Adam is doing the protocol for COVID, so he's not here tonight.
Okay, so we can start then. Mike, did you want to say a few words? And you're interested in,
I think I've said more than enough tonight, Francis.
well, that you want to be
But thank you.
president again?
Yes, but I accept the nomination.
Accepted, okay. Judith,
Yes, I accept the nomination.
okay. Simon,
Sorry, I accept too.
okay. And then Adam.
I have an email from Adam.
You have an email, okay. So why don't we vote then on the executive first, and then we'll vote on the members at large. So can I have a motion to nominate the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer? Can I have a motion by one of the members? Okay. Moved by Dave Bennett. Can I have a seconder, please?
Brenda.
Brenda? Okay. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, if any? Carried. Now, members at large that are returning: Brandon Panero, Glenna Kramer, Guy Peterson, Jonah Javier, Laura Power, Marlene McIntosh, Michelle Lopez, Queenie, and Rick Ciccarelli. And they're all here tonight?
Queenie's not.
Queenie's not.
I have a question. Have all the people been active who are on the list?
Well, I guess we can ask Mike. Have they all been active?
Yes.
That's on the list? The
Yes,
members?
they've been attending meetings or participating. We've been doing Zoom meetings and meeting at Party by the Pond or cleanups.
Now, the second page are the new members that want to be members at large too?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got quite a few people, members at large.
Six going and 6 coming.
Okay, so the new ones are Adam Truex, Ruth, is Ruth here? Genefit, Veronica, Evan Cadet, Neiland Brissenden. Sorry, Neiland.
I didn't, I didn't.
I don't know why you're here because you're the BIA rep.
Yeah, I don't know how and I didn't volunteer to.
No.
I just love you so much.
I guess so.
You can vote, so you're a member at large.
Sure, I mean, yeah, okay,
Right.
sure.
How about people stand up when their name is called, raise their hand or something?
Neiland. How do you pronounce your last name?
Brissenden.
Brissenden, okay. And Chris Balmore from Scott's Funeral Home. Yeah, so any of the names that I've called, are they here? Because we like to see who we're appointing, right? Okay. All right, is that okay?
Thank you.
They're here? Okay, so can I have a motion to appoint the members at large? Moved by, how about? Okay, seconder?
Brandon.
Laura? Second by Laura. All in favor? Show of hands. Opposed, if any? Carried. So congratulations to the board. And so, just to let you know that everybody's appointed to the board, like members at large or the executive committee. They work very hard as part of the Mount Dennis Community Association. You may not see it every day, but there's a lot of work that they do. And they're always advocating on behalf of the community, which is very important. So, these are very important positions. And we need commitments from the community. Because of what's happening in our community, there's so many changes. You want an opportunity to engage the community and have a voice in the community. So I want to congratulate everyone that has an interest because it's so important to have a voice in your community. So congratulations to everyone that was elected this evening. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor.